Hello, group. Jason Elliott again. 3:35 in the morning on Thursday. Um, this is the step 2 video for the force field chart, CSCC cafeteria. I told you guys that I keep getting these pushed out. So, alright, right to the point. Step 2, decide on a solution objective. So I write out some solution objectives. I was going to just highlight these things, make it hopefully as painless as possible. So my summed up possible solution objectives, since it has to be time bound and measurable if possible. I was just using the 5% example the book provided. So I came up with 3. Excuse me. That we could have a 5% cost reduction in all the products being sold in the cafeteria, a 5% increase in the speed of the food preparation, a 5% increase in the speed of the checkout and paying process, and then all these could be within one full semester of time from the starting point. So if you were mid-semester of, we'll just say, semester A, then the rest of semester A would be allowed to resolve, and then you would have all of semester B to resolve, and then that would be the time measured to allow some leniency for implementation. Where these came from? Well, to highlight step 1, I had mentioned that the CSCC cafeteria has choices, and the vendor has limited choices. So limiting the choices would strengthen the vendor. So you don't want to limit the choices. So I think CSCC is equal, if not slightly more of an advantage there. Because unless you're looking for something very specialized and you know exactly that it's at the vendor and you know the vendor has it and you can go right to it, I would think you go to the cafeteria route. So then I highlighted the CSCC cafeteria and the vendors, depending on the situation, either one could have more weight. So you have more staff in the cafeteria, but you have more people. You have less staff with the vendor, but odds are you're going to have less of the volume in the cafeteria. So if that's about equal, then you got to look for something that tips the scale in favor of the cafeteria. And so that's where I came up with the 5% increase in the speed of food preparation, which you have to balance that out with food being properly prepared, but maybe they can have everything streamlined in some way of, you know, here's your box of food, or if stuff is already prepared to keep it heated to a certain extent, if they're not already doing this. And then a 5% increase in the speed of the checkout or paying. This is probably, at first glance, a little more doable, unless, you know, you're looking at cost per employee. But if you've got enough staff, depending on the volume of customers through the cafeteria, or someone who's capable to trade in and out, who can go from behind the counter over to the cash register, then you've got some flexibility, and then that might be more doable. So yeah, that jumps right into the cost. Yeah, I thought the costs of food and drink were pretty comparable between the vendor and the cafeteria, and so maybe through some streamlining methods, or maybe recycling, or encouraging everyone of some way to give back. I don't know how that would be at the. I mean, I'm trying to think of something on the lines of like a recycling program. If they can reduce their overall costs, then maybe they can bring the cost down of all the products by 5%. And even though that sounds marginal, that would be enough to tip the scale in their favor. Uh, I think they have a clear advantage in the cafeteria for the weather. They're inside. Um, so I don't see any way to give them any more advantage than that. Um, the cleanliness, again, on the cafeteria side, you have more area to worry about, but you have more staff, and you get a place to sit down. They have an advantage. I mean, you're outside, you're subject to whatever is going on outside with the vendors. Now, two more things that I came up with since step one. Um, one is being subject to power. It's on electricity and whatnot. Um, sorry, I'm making a note here that I don't forget. Uh, so with CSCC, if the power is out, if there was like a building power failure, your vendor could run independently. I would imagine. I've seen a lot of them run off of the gas tanks, fuel tanks, propane, for example. So that's the first advantage I give to the vendor. The vendor is not subject to the power usage and the connections and restrictions that the buildings are. And then the one that I was just writing here that is new to me as of right now is just advertising. I imagine CSCC, as you guys well know, has an advertising budget, so they can advertise for their cafeteria. And an independent vendor is, I would think, that's going to be right out of their pocket. I wouldn't see why it wouldn't be. So, that's another advantage to CSCC. So, to recap, I think we're looking at, again, the three choices. These are all within one full semester of completion. So if it was in the middle of a semester or at the tail end of the semester or at the beginning of the semester, you would go for the remainder of that and then one full semester beyond that to allow flexibility for the implementation process. And of the 5% cost reduction in all products, 5% increase in speed of food preparation, 5% increase in speed of checkout and paying. I think the 5% cost reduction and the 5% increase in speed for checkout are going to be more noticeable than the speed of the food preparation. I think we go in the cafeteria, we look around, we go, well, this is ready, this is not, I'll go with this. So I think we adjust on that. You're going to notice if you have to wait in line. And you're going to notice what you're paying, especially if you're on a budget. So I think those two are more noticeable. So probably, I mean, for me, I would think the checkout paying 5% increase is the one I would pick, just because if you had some flexibility and you had some streamlining processes going into place, then you could have somebody there, an extra person, to bring those people through. And you probably, I'm not citing any facts, I'm not citing any studies, but I would think you don't mind paying even up against the vendor if you're being checked right out. Boom. I grab my drink, I grab my apple, donut, whatever. I walk right up, I pay for it, I'm done. So, there you go. So, me personally, of the three that I've written out, I would be leaning towards the solution objective for this problem is a 5% increase in the speed of checking out and paying in the CSCC cafeteria, and the implementation time frame would be within one full semester being completed beyond the semester that is currently going on. So, All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see if I hear back from you guys.